on, everybody? Welcome back. It's been a little bit. I got sick, he got sick, and we're back. Feeling better, not 100%, but it's a good day. We're going to talk some baseball. We're going to talk some futures and hopefully provide a lot of insight on how to make some easy money. We're a couple of schmucks here, so don't take our word for it, full disclaimer, but in reality, no. If you follow our advice, you probably will make some money, but disclaimer, I can't guarantee you that. So what do you think, Daniel?
Yeah, no, I think today we're going to talk some interesting stuff, and that's the futures markets for baseball. People like Brenden and I were both big stock guys, probably you guys as well. Who isn't kind of interested in the stock market, right? The idea is you see a company that you like, you believe in a product, and you say, hey, let me put some money into them, and over time, I'm going to make money from that money I invested. The futures markets and sports are very similar. You're looking at teams like you would be looking at companies. And what is their product? Well, the product here is success. And the question then is, who has more of it? And if you invest in those right companies that have success, you will make money. Last year, friends of mine, myself, made money in the futures markets. Brenden and I did. I'm a Braves fan. I thought the Atlanta Braves were going to win the National League East, even in July when they were like 5 games under 500. This was before the trade deadline. I looked at the run differential between them and the Mets and the Phillies. I knew what those teams really were, and I looked at the strength of schedule that they had remaining. And a bunch of my buddies, we put money down on the Braves, and we parlayed them with other teams that we thought would win, the Chicago White Sox. I had friends who parlayed them with football teams like the Packers, the Kansas City Chiefs. And, so the thing is, there are a lot of opportunities in the futures market. We're going to just stick with baseball for today, as it is baseball season. And we're going to be looking at division winners. Brenden and I don't really believe in getting too much on the World Series or Championship League trains, because that is a bit of a crapshoot. But if you want to be conservative and be aggressive at the same time, the divisions futures markets for baseball is where it's at. Because unlike the NBA, there is an incentive to win your division in Major League Baseball, especially now with only the top 2 seeds getting a bye. So, yeah, I think, Brenden, today we're going to kind of go over who we like. But, again, we want to let you know that this is the sort of thing, if you haven't dabbled in it before, is very different, wouldn't you say, Brenden, from betting on a game day to day?
Yeah, no, I think the biggest key, like you said, I mean, there needs to be a lot of thought that goes into this. Like, you can't just immediately look at something face value. Like, we're going to show you today, some of our picks, they're not the favorites. Okay, they're going to have the favorites out there. Some of our picks today, like the Milwaukee Brewers, highlight, a future example. We don't believe in them. Their offense is just simply not there. They can pitch, but that's an example. And like you said, I mean, we were looking at it today. Today is April 26th, 2022. The Yankees are playing the Orioles. Jordan Lyles on the hill. We firmly believe the Yankees will win this game, but it's baseball, man. Jordan Lyles could go out there and throw 7 perfect innings. I mean, who knows? It's just anything could happen. So yeah, it's very different than just a day-to-day basis. And I think in general, like if you do your research and like you said, I mean, this is not the NBA where, okay, we already locked up a playoff seed, we're getting somewhere in the 4 to 6. It doesn't really matter, because even if we get matched up with somebody beneficial in the first round, we're still going to have to play everybody in the base. No, this is not like that. So yeah, I think that's it. And also, like Daniel had mentioned, like player awards, championship, choosing somebody to throw the dart, you have 1 out of 5 chances in the division. Okay. It's not like rookie of the year. It could be anybody who wins that.
Personality, man, personality, bias, so many other variables. There's nothing, there's no voters who matter here. There's no voter fatigue. It's, are you better
20%
than the other
chance.
teams
20%
in your division?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think this is where, I mean, look, the industry of sports betting is, I think, built upon the daily wager, right, Brenden? Wouldn't you say so? That's what people are. People have To me, my favorite word in the English language. Do you know what it is, Brendan? Did I ever tell you what my favorite word is?
No.
It's patience.
Mm.
That's my favorite word, and that is the. If we look it up, we can go look it up. It's not just waiting for something to happen. It's also enduring difficulty. In the English Webster's definition, you know, last year, you had to endure some of the ups and downs that go into a baseball season or any kind of season. The team you pick may not be off to the best start. That doesn't mean that you panic. It doesn't mean that you cash out, because in a lot of these bets or these wagers, you can cash out.
Yeah.
And you know what? If you cashed out and your teams ended up coming through, you'll feel like a monkey's butt.
Mm-hmm.
So I think here you have to really, like you said, think deeply beyond the surface that you see and ask yourself, okay, why am I picking this team, or why am I not picking this team?
Mm-hmm.
And then look, the other side of this is that you're not wed also, guys, to necessarily, your initial picks.
Mm-hmm.
You could do combinations. The goal here isn't to just say, hey, look, I'm going to live and die with this one team necessarily. You may feel that's your team, but nobody's perfect. You have the opportunity here to choose two different teams sometimes for a particular division and have a base foundation of one particular team that you're saying, okay, that is going to be kind of my ground floor for how I do this. I think you and I are both in agreement that the Los Angeles Dodgers are going to win the National League West, right?
Yeah, I mean, let's just go over, our favorites right now, and we'll talk a little bit about why. I mean, we'll start in the Central. I mean, because this is an interesting one, actually.
Mm-hmm.
The Chicago White Sox, they're down bad right now, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Eloy's just
7 in a row. Awful.
lose 7 games in a row. Eloy's down with the hamstring. Lance Lynn's down. Okay, they just got Giolito back, thank God. But then, sure enough, William Hendricks back tightness. Who knows if he's going to play? Luis Roberts still not back in the lineup from his groin injury. I mean, that team, AJ Pollock just got back. I mean, that team is down really bad, down and out. But goes back to what you said, patience. I mean, still, what do they have? The best record in that division right now? Still,
They don't. They don't. Right now, it's Minnesota at 8-8. Chicago, I believe, is like 6-8 or 6-9 or something like that. But it's a gap of 2 games.
There you go.
Over 162 games.
So yeah, I mean, even in spite of that, I mean, I would say, like, if you asked me before the season started, I would say there was like almost no chance that they could lose the division. Now I'm still about 85% sure they're going to win. Because, I mean, especially if Robert doesn't hit the IL, I mean, he'll be in there. If Giolito is really healthy, I mean, they have pitching, man. Michael Kopech can pitch. Okay, that bullpen is solid. I know they got Kimbrel, he's gone, but I mean, hopefully Hendricks is all right. But I just think in general, I mean, okay, the Twins are cute. They got Correa, but they can't pitch. I love the Tigers, but I just can't see them
No, they're not ready.
pulling that
It's
out.
not their time.
The Royals are trash. The Royals are absolute garbage. The Guardians, okay, they got off to a little bit of a good start, but
they're under 500 again.
Over 162 games.
Yeah.
It's going to be the Chicago White Sox that come out on top of that division. So
that is what this is about, right? Like, again, when you look at these 5 teams, you have, again, the other thing to look at, is who runs these teams, right? Who's in the front office, and then what is the ownership like? Are these front offices and ownerships that are going to be aggressive at the deadline to improve their teams, or are they going to stand pat? Like, do we really see the Cleveland Guardians going out there and adding, I don't know, anywhere from 5 to 10 to $15 million of payroll? Absolutely not.
No.
They will shed that if they can. They have one of the 5, I think, lowest payrolls in baseball. The Detroit Tigers are rebuilding. The Kansas City Royals are a mess. The only obstacle potentially is the Minnesota Twins, but no, like you said, they're not a fully depth out team. They have a skeleton pitching staff. I mean, I like Ryan. I like Ober a little bit, but they do not have a real rotation.
No.
And they do not have a real bullpen. Emilio Pagan eventually will lose that job to Duran. and Duran will get bumped up, and that exposes the bullpen, the middle relief to Pagan and to Tyler Duffy. It's not a team built for it. If you look at this 170 that the White Sox have right now, 2 weeks ago before the season started, what was it, Brenden?
Like negative 240,
240, 220, something like that. This is probably the best you're going to get for the Chicago White Sox right now. This is a sort of opportunity that I would see and say, hey, I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we'll lock in the White Sox there. I mean, if you go sticking with the Central, if we go to the NL, I mean, we kind of talked about it already, but the St. Louis Cardinals are winning that division.
Okay? I totally agree.
I mean, look, Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, Tyler O'Neill. I mean, these guys.
These are elite hitters.
Hit the baseball, dude. Like, and beyond that, I mean, like, if they move Jordan Hicks into the rotation, even if he goes 3 innings for the whole year, that guy can pitch, man. Like, that guy can pitch. I mean, Wainwright, it's the ageless wonder. He's still doing it. I mean, we'll see if he can continue on. But, I mean, getting Jack Flaherty back would be big. But I think it goes to what you said. Like, if the St. Louis Cardinals even sniff come deadline time that they have a chance, they will add to this team. They will make moves to help this team. And also, the thing you have to look at is right underneath, right? Nolan Gorman is there. Okay, he could play. I mean, Arenado's obviously playing third base, but he could play anywhere. I mean, they get engaged. He can play second base, move Tommy Edman into the outfield. Who knows? But they will definitely add pitching. I mean, they have Liberator down there as well. Hopefully, they get Flaherty back sometime this year. But the Cardinals are just, if you compare apples to apples, I mean, the Brewers
do not have a good farm system.
That is not a major league offense either.
No, it's not.
It's not. I mean, if they even finish in the top half in terms of overall offensive rankings by the end of the year, I'd be shocked.
I'd be shocked.
I'd be stunned.
Stunned.
So
yeah,
you look at the rest of that division. I mean, the numbers are what they are.
Yeah. There's a reason the Pirates are plus 8,000. So, so really both those divisions we've gone over, both central divisions, they are essentially 2-team races. And even the AL Central, I just, I can't really count the Twins yet. But the NL Central is a good example where you have 2 real competitors. You can see the numbers are relatively close, negative 165 plus 155. That'll probably shrink. The Cardinal, that number, that 155, it was at plus 240 to start the season. Now it dropped by 100 points, and it's going to continue to drop. The Cardinals, Miles Mikolas has looked for real. He reminds me of a poor man's Greg Maddux, and that's all you need. You need you don't have to go out there and have Greg Madduxes and Roger Clemenses and whatnot. Sometimes you need somebody who can just take the ball, give you 6 to 7 innings, not walk people, get it to your bullpen. And the Cardinals have a pretty decent one. It's not the Brewers bullpen, but it doesn't have to be. And even the Brewers bullpen, Brenden.
And I mean, look, if you look at the Cardinals, that's something that immediately, how could the front office not address that?
Yeah, I mean, John Mozeliak's one of the best in the business.
And at the deadline, those guys don't cost you a ton. They swap out.
Relievers don't. Yeah.
So, no, I mean, I think we've covered the bases. I mean, we'll see, but I don't know. I don't know if the Brewers can do it again, man. Especially.
I strongly don't think so.
Yeah.
How's that? So, but look, we'll get back to it. We'll keep our eye on it.
So lock that pick in there. And at least let's just do this. I mean, let me just say before you go, because obviously this is your team. The New York Mets have played the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Washington Nationals for over half their games. And I think you mentioned it earlier when we were talking about this. The other games that they picked up 3 out of 4 of were the San Francisco Giants, who, okay, I get it. They were good last year, but I would still say that's like a middle tier team. So you're telling me the Mets all of a sudden have a negative 135 next to their name because they consistently beat the Diamondbacks, the Nationals, and the Giants. This is a perfect example of an overreaction early in the season.
Yes.
The Braves have the top 5 player in baseball, probably the best player if he's fully healthy, coming back to their team. I understand they lost Freddie Freeman. Matt Olson's a really good player. It's about a net even. Okay. And I mean, Jorge Soler, I mean, he's a postseason hero, but he's not a regular season guy. I mean, Eddie Rosario's hitting the IL. I know you talked about Michael Harris, but dude, the Braves have Max Fried, Kyle Wright looks legit this year. You know, you like Charlie Morton a little bit more than me, but the reality is, dude, their bullpen is good. Like they're they're a complete team. When you look at the rest of this division, the Phillies can hit, but look at what they've done lately. They're on a skid themselves. They have many things they need to figure out. Okay, the Mets, dude, if DeGrom is not there, if DeGrom is here, I would say maybe these numbers have some merit. Yeah. But he may not even pitch this whole year, dude. So that's my thing. I mean, you're the Braves guy here, but this is an easy one, guys. Look, 205, you take that and you run to the bank all day.
I'll say this, right? I live in northern New Jersey. I have a lot of exposure to the New York Mets and the media around them. They're a good team.
I love the Starling Marte acquisition. Eduardo Escobar, that cat can play. Look, they did a lot of good moves. Max Scherzer appears he still has
Chris Bassett was one of the best trades in the offseason. I've always loved him out in Oakland. They are a good team. They're going to go to the playoffs, and they are a legit World Series contender. I have no doubt. I have full respect for the New York Mets and for the manager, Buck Showalter. I think he's the best manager in baseball.
It's up there.
They are absolutely a legitimate threat to win that division, but at a negative 135 favorite, and the Braves are at plus 205, that is, like you said, an overreaction. Before the season started, a lot of sports books still had the Mets kind of a little bit ahead of Atlanta. And then when the DeGrom news broke, flipped back to Atlanta. And now, maybe the part of this is the Eddie Rosario news today, folks. If you didn't hear, he's out 8 to 12 weeks with a eye issue. The Atlanta Braves get Ronald Acuna Jr. back in about a week's time. They were saying May 6th. They're not going to do May 6th. He's coming back probably this Friday. If not, then he'll be in New York for the beginning of the Mets series. When the Braves play the Mets, if the Braves take 3 out of 4, those numbers will shift dramatically. Even if the Braves split.
I'll say this, that's really what the division comes down to, is these games that are played directly one-on-one. Like absolutely. If the Braves go in there and they lose 3 out of 4 to the Mets or get swept or something like that, I might have a different tune. But even then, I still think, Acuna's coming back, man. Like
Acuna himself, again, the impact that guy has on lengthening the lineup and helping with outfield defense. He brings speed. Look, the Braves they got off to a bit of a World Series hangover start, and if people want to buy that, then by all means, you can say, okay, fine. That's that. They're not going to repeat. Their last year was a fluke and whatnot. But no, you look at what those two pitchers you just mentioned, Max Fried and Kyle Wright, give the Braves. To me, for my money, that has the potential to be the best 1-2 punch in baseball. Kyle Wright was a number 5 overall pick. Probably should have been 1-1. Most teams had him going 1-1 to the Twins. He dropped. The Braves still gave him 1-1 money, and he's finally figured it out, and he's looked unhittable. They have a minor league system that I think is stronger than the Mets, where with this Rosario.
Way stronger.
Yeah, no, Brenden, you've seen Spencer Strider, right? He was a guy.
Who's the kid that came up? Kyle Mueller.
Kyle Mueller.
He's there you go.
Yeah. So Mike Soroka's coming back in July. Kirby Yates is coming back in July.
It's one of those things they have more. And again, Vapolis is love him or hate him, he will make moves.
Yeah,
he will. He's shown it's in his history. He's not going to sit back and do nothing. And I'm not saying the Mets won't, but Braves have more ammunition than the Mets to go out there and make these types of moves.
Yeah,
the Mets they've exhausted their farm system. They made all these trades and did everything like that, but what's really left down there that's going to bring you an impact piece? Nothing.
Nothing. So look, it's obviously early, but to get the Braves for 205 right now, I think is a hell of a value, and I'll just leave it at that for now.
Yeah, for sure. So this one's a toss-up. I know that you're more on the Astros train than I am, but when it comes down to, I'm a big believer in the bullpen. That's just, I grew up a Tigers fan. Okay, I've seen it. We've lost 2 World Series because of the bullpen. All right, I still have images of Torrey Hunter flipping over the wall with David Ortiz at a grand slam. All right, I have seen it. And also, when you look at recent baseball history, I mean, the Andrew Millers of the world, right? Aroldis Chapman, like these guys, when the postseason, you hand the ball to them. That's what the postseason comes down to, is that guy who's picking up the ball in the 7th or 8th inning, not even the 9th, honestly. It's the 7th or 8th inning that's really going to be the runner on 1st and 3rd. There's one out. And I mean, the Mariners have, for my money, they have a top 5 bullpen in the game. They can really, really pitch. And the Angels, I mean, they got Mike Trout and Shohei. If they can finally stay healthy, I mean, they're a huge threat. I know you like Houston. I'm not saying Houston's a bad team. Okay, I still got a little bit of salt in my mouth maybe from the whole thing, but this one's a tough one. And this is one where, like, but when you look at the numbers, and we're going to get into that next episode, this isn't one where you really have to choose. Mm-hmm. This is the one division, because there's not easy ones where you can point to, like the AL Central, where it's this. Sometimes you just have to mix and match and take those numbers and kind of give yourself less exposure to this one, because really, man, that's anybody's division. That's, you can't sit here and tell me with certainty anybody's going to run away with that.
Yeah. No, I think, I mean, I do favor the Astros over the Angels and Mariners, but that's not one where if you put a gun to my head, I would feel good about it. All 3 of those teams are legit playoff contenders, and you know, nothing would surprise me. I mean, really, other than the Rangers and the Athletics, I mean, any one of those 3 teams could win. So that's one where, like, if you're building a model, right, where you want to try to put together as many division pieces as possible, that's one where you're just safer, like saying, you know what, I'll pass. But like Brenden said, you know, there are still ways to incorporate it. But if you're trying to look for anything bulletproof, this is not the division to go look at.
No, for sure. I mean, yeah,
this is probably the opposite.
We'll leave it at that.
National League West.
It's, yeah, I mean, come on. Like, what are we talking about? We were talking about earlier, the Giants. I love Rodon. That dude's a beast. I mean, he's going to put.
I love Logan Webb. Logan Webb is one of my favorite pitchers.
Yeah, he's your guy. I mean, I like their bullpen. I think Rogers is nails. I think, Camilo Duvall is just, he's really good. I mean, I think Jake McGee has his moments. I think they do have one of the better bullpens in the game. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, let's just not be dumb here. Like, this is, I mean, you got Trey Turner and Freddie Freeman in the same lineup. I mean, Mookie Betts looked better finally for the last couple games. Bellinger's,
he looks a lot better.
That's one of my guys, man. I was worried. I was worried there for a while, but he's going to be just fine. Yeah, that's one of my guys. But love Jock Peterson out in San Francisco, but it's LA's division, man.
It really is. No, the Dodgers are I was harping on them a little bit last episode with their length of their lineup, but if Bellinger's back, and Max Muncy, I think as time progresses will probably be healthier and healthier. Will Smith obviously is a stud behind the plate. Yeah, I mean, the Giants just cannot match that lineup. You know, they're not even a third of that lineup. I think the Dodgers may out-homer them 2-1. Last year, the Giants, I mean, I think they led all of baseball in home runs. I mean,
is that true? That's crazy. Yeah,
that's
they got some guys that do it. I mean, Brandon Bell, that's one of those guys, man. He's like old school, no batting gloves, but
everybody just kind of had a career year.
Yeah, a lot of things went right for them, man.
A renaissance. I mean, Brandon Crawford. I mean, I don't think you can survive also the way Gabe Kapler does it. Mixing and matching every game and resting this guy every 4th game. And, I just think the Dodgers are a well-oiled machine comparatively to the Giants. Their bullpen has looked a lot better than I anticipated. Phil Bickford, I've always liked him, though. I think he was a former Giant, actually, farmhand. He's darn good. Brewster Gatterall, having Kimbrel come in at the 9th inning now is huge for them. He's
having good. Blake Trinan go down, though, that's tough, man.
He'll be back, though, from what I heard.
It's scary, though, dude. And that's one
I'll say this. I'll say this, though. The Dodgers do, remember we were talking about it, Brenden. How do they still have such a highly rated farm system? Remember that after trading Herbert Ruiz and Josiah Gray? They've got some guys on that farm that we can talk about next episode that are really good.
I saw some of them in spring training. Those guys are nasty.
They have some pitchers and some hitters They have more of that ability at the deadline to go out there and add than any one of those teams in the division.
Comes down to the money. Will they do it? But you and I both think they will. They're the LA Dodgers.
Listen, the Los Angeles Dodgers, they're not going to let money stand in the way. San Francisco, could I see them adding financially? Sure, but not to the level of the Dodgers. This is an organization that is traded for at the deadline, Manny Machado and Yu Darvish. Okay. People with
Trey Turner.
And Trey Turner.
Next Scherzer.
There's no team that is willing to be that aggressive to go take on salary or give up prospect capital for even a rental like Machado was. They knew they probably were not going to re-sign Machado, but they were willing to give up the capital and draft prospects because they believe, no, we have an opportunity to win right now. When you take that additional factor into account, remember, they did not anticipate losing Trevor Bauer for the entirety of last year. Yeah. That was not like the plan going in, right? So, I don't think, part of it honestly is like, I'm not sure if I would say they're necessarily better than they were last year. It's just also that the Giants are not as good.
It just goes. A lot has to go right, man. Like for the Giants,
everything.
They really play between the lines, and they do a good job of it. And they have built a team that plays to the strength of their ballpark and certain other factors. But yeah, man. The Dodgers just have too much firepower at the top.
The other thing,
especially if Kershaw's back,
and he looks good. He looks healthy. He looks. Kershaw, if he
goes 5 innings at a time, it's just
5 to 6 innings at a time of that man is spectacular. But I'll say this last part on the Dodgers. They get a full year of Freddie Freeman and a full year of Trey Turner this year. That's insanity. They didn't have that last year, And as much as I love Corey Seager, he's not Freddie Freeman.
Yeah.
So I believe in the Freddie effect. I think he makes everyone else around him better.
Look, everyone has a chip on their shoulder. They didn't win a championship last year. That's the goal. You can't walk into that clubhouse and just say, "Oh, we're stacked on paper." No, dude, you didn't win a championship last year. Okay.
Yeah.
It's the bottom line. You didn't even make it there. So.
Yeah.
That's it, man.
I agree. Yeah, it's beating a dead horse. Los Angeles Dodgers division to lose, and they're not going to lose.
Yeah. So last one.
This is a fun one.
It's a fun one. We were picking them back when they were down here, right? It's like the Red Sox are a bunch of frauds. Same thing as the Giants, right? Everything went right for them last year. They were using the sticky stuff. Okay, got off to a hot start offensively. The Boston Red Sox can't pitch. Okay, I love Garrett Whitlock. That dude is a horse. I love Tanner Houck. That dude is nasty. After that, it's a short list, man. Evaldi, that dude throws hard, but I'm not willing to sit here and die in a hill and say he's an ace. Okay, Chris Sale, will he come back? Maybe. He will come back at some point in time, but obviously that's going to hurt them, and they have no bullpen. So, yeah, I think the Red Sox are a non-threat, and the number now reflects that. The Yankees, I've liked what I've seen from Severino, especially after a rough spring training. I'm really encouraged to see it. Garrett Cole, I get a slow start. He's pitching us a really cold weather. I'm willing to give him that one. That's tough. But yeah, I just feel like after those two, from a starting pitching perspective,
and then Nestor Cortez has looked good. What do you think about him, though?
He's looked good, but
there's no track record.
No track record. I'd have to look up his minor league numbers. I love his funky delivery. He changes arm slots mid-start, which is interesting. But yeah, their bullpen is good, but for whatever reason, I just can't see.
You know what it is with the Yankees? Again, I still don't trust their offense.
Yeah, it's almost like they're good, but their team build doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? There's guys that defensively, I just feel like they don't fit into the equation. They're a little bit of an older team. Obviously they got Josh Donaldson in there. We'll see. It's close though. It's a lot closer than you would think. I've kind of come on to the Yankees because they've had some revelations on the pitching side that have kind of come out into it. But the reality is, man, the Blue Jays obviously losing to Astor Hernandez.
Before we get to the Blue Jays, a team that pretty good, the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Rays, but I think we've discussed it, and this year they don't quite hit me the same, man. I mean,
I agree.
especially from a pitching perspective, like I don't know, their bullpen just isn't as dominant as years past. I mean, like I love Andrew Kittredge, that dude is nasty. I think McClanahan has a lot of potential from a starting pitching perspective.
He's looked good.
I mean, he's he is good, but after that, I mean, they're doing some opener stuff with JP 5 years in, and like
No,
it's just a show. They got
the depth is not there.
Matt Whistler taking the mound today. Well, bounce back story there. But yeah, man, I just think that there's a lot of injuries that piled up for them, and for there being how constrained that team is, they've had some success in the recent years. I think they've exhausted some of that capital.
Yeah.
And there's a lot down there. Obviously, like who knows who's going to come from the farm? This is what we always talk about. There's just going to be at least 2 people from the Rays that I've never even heard of this year that are going to make a phenomenal impact. Like they'll come up and just be either untouchable or like hit 30 home. It just won't make any sense.
You can't get them out. Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the Rays will be there, but
no,
I mean,
it's Toronto.
It's their show to lose, man. It's just, they
put it. What was that quote? What was that quote?
You had Vlad. Vlad Guerrero Jr. said last year was the trailer. You're about to watch the movie. Like they know they're pissed they didn't make the playoffs last year, dude. Oh. And they are coming for it. And I think George Springer's going to have a huge year. He was hurt last year. He was basically a non-factor. Yeah, they're coming, man.
They get to play at home. Half their games last year they had to play in Dunedin, Florida, and the year before that they had to play in Buffalo. For 2 years, they have not been able to play a home game. Think about that. And that market in Toronto is a big, passionate sports city. For anybody who hasn't been there, doesn't know Canada, this is Maple Leafs country. This is Toronto Maple Leafs country. They are fanatics when it comes to their sports, and baseball has a long history. The Toronto Blue Jays won 2 World Series back in the 90s. This is a serious baseball town, and they have a serious baseball team. And for me, they've got talent on both sides, the pitching and the hitting. And,
I mean, we've talked about it. It's not like their pitching is nails, but they've got a lot of guys who are above average.
They've got at least major leaguers out there.
Yeah, we hated the Robbie Ray for Kevin Gausman switch. We love Robbie Ray. It makes no sense to us why he's not a Toronto Blue Jay right now, especially when they could have just gotten both of them. If you would have packaged Kikuchi's contract and all the other signings they made, probably could have had both of them. But the reality is, I mean, Berrios, I know you're not in love with him, but the he's good. I mean,
he's still talented. He's a real arm.
He's a real arm. Like Kevin Gausman, love him or hate him.
He's a real arm.
I mean, he could definitely pencil him in for a number 3 or 4 starter all day.
At the worst.
The worst, you know. So
I love Jordan Romano. I love Jordan. You know that. I'm a huge Jordan Romano fan on all my fantasy teams.
And again, this is a team where if they sniff, they have any problems, and they are still winning games. You're talking this year. I think they would push all the chips to the table. I don't think they care. I don't think they care. They're getting
Brenden. Think about it. They were this close from getting Jose Ramirez.
Oh yeah, dude. 100%. And I mean, dude, in the bullpen, we didn't even talk about it. I mean, they got Yimi Garcia from Miami last year. That guy's been nails so far this year. So, no, this team, I mean, they have pieces all over the ballpark. I mean, whether you want to talk about the offense, whether you want to talk about what they've done with their pitching staff. Nate Pearson's coming up too. I know from a pitching perspective, if they were looking for help to come from within the organization, they have a lot of things going for them.
So with that said, then Brenden, what kind of numbers are we looking at here? If one was to put a modest $100 down.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. I mean, it's plus 3,574. Those are our picks. And we'll kind of talk about next episode about some creative ways that you can kind of mix and match these. Obviously, if you wanted to do something like throw these guys in there, okay, look at the effect that has. But the reality is, man, these teams, and these are our picks, the Blue Jays, the Dodgers, the Braves, the White Sox, the Cardinals. We're going to pin that up. I'll put a board back, and I'm going to make an office one of these times. Next podcast, we'll have it on there. These teams are winning the division. It's cash. Even if you wanted to be conservative, just take your 3 favorites, right? Like this is
take out the Braves.
This is money in the bank for you. Again, not guaranteeing that you will make money taking our advice, but there is sound reasoning behind every one of these organizations that over the course of time, Daniel's favorite word is patience, over the patience of a major league marathon, these teams will come out on top. I can guarantee you that, honestly.
Yep. No, I mean, look, throughout the year or baseball season, baseball year, we're going to continue to talk about these teams and the division races and what's happening, player performances. And look, if we have to call audibles sometimes, we call audibles, right? The goal here isn't necessarily to die on your sword, right?
Yeah.
The goal here is to make money, right? And if an opportunity presents itself, you acknowledge it, you take advantage of it. However, sometimes certain teams are worth riding out, and maybe even continuing to invest in. Even if the Braves go up to New York next week and lose 3 out of 4, but Ronald Acuna's back. Let's say Acuna isn't activated for that series, Brenden, and they lose 3 out of 4. Am I still going to say the New York Mets are head and shoulders above the Braves and clear-cut favorites? Absolutely not. That Braves number may jump to around 300 for all you know. Really? Well, I would be certainly interested in what the numbers look like then. But again, this is just a introduction, guys, and a basic, snapshot of kind of what it looks like. Next week, or next episode, we'll get more creative. Like Brenden said, there are a lot more conservative approaches here, which we can look at. But just from like what we think the most 5 clear-cut cases are, this is what it looks like. And I think it looks good.
Yeah, so I mean, we'd love to hear your thoughts. If you have any comments, definitely leave them below. And if you're still here, throw a like on there, give us a subscription, and we'll be bringing you some more content here shortly in regards to this and maybe some fantasy baseball. We got to get back on the train.
Yeah, we'll talk waivers. We'll talk waivers and whatnot and trades.
So yeah, definitely appreciate your time, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. And we'll catch you on the next one.
See you guys.